This episode's all about Dune! 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 If you haven't seen it, it's your own fault! Dune! Dune! Dune!
That's right, Fozzie. Welcome to Talking Nerdy with Max and Thomas. I'm Max.
And I'm Thomas.
We're going to talk Dune!
Part 2 and
Part 2, yeah. So, we got to see it Sunday. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh
I've
yeah.
been-
Oh my God.
If you've been watching the podcast, you know this has been the movie I've most looked forward to this year and last year when it was supposed to come out last year.
Yeah. He's gone through all of them. I'm still there.
Well, technically, I've only read this many.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only read the first 3.
That's still way more than me.
But I am a fan.
I'm a diehard fan for it now. Oh my God.
It's so freaking good.
Oh, it's a spectacle on the screen. Just candy for your eyes. Oh my gosh. The cinematography in it is just amazing.
And actually, let me look up the cinematographer's name. Because he did an incredible job.
Phenomenal. They went out into the desert to shoot this, right?
They shot it in Jordan and they shot it in Jordan. They shot it in Jordan and somewhere else.
They shot Jordan. Man, that stinks.
Yeah, they shot it in Jordan.
Yeah.
Fuck! So the name of the cinematographer is Greg Fraser.
Okay.
And I think I'm pronouncing it right, because it's spelled a little different. But oh my God, like, so from the first shot of them. And so right now we're not going to talk spoilers just yet.
Right.
We'll give a warning when we're going to get into the spoilers, but we will talk spoilers.
If you also haven't seen part 1, that was in 2021, 3 years ago now.
You had your shot.
Yeah, you missed it.
Go watch it. We're spoiling it if you haven't watched it. It's based off a book that's was written in it was published in 65. So
yeah.
So if you haven't read the book, that's
Thousands of years ago.
yes.
Our plans are centuries long.
Yeah. Or watch
Oh no, we messed up.
Yeah, or watch Dune 1984 with David Lynch, which you can discount, like, don't watch it.
Right.
Sting's in it,
weird.
that's cool. And then the 2021 Dune is sort of the first half of the book. This is the second. So for Dune Part 1, tough.
Dune Part 1 is also almost, the entire movie is literally just 2 parts. It's the introduction to the whole story and a climax where one house tries to just annihilate another. We're following Paul, and he's from a house, and they're all about warriors, and they know how to fight on the sea and the air.
So the House Atreides is
And it's like a governing house of a planet.
yes, it's a duchy.
Yeah,
and
the house is like everyone of that family that rules on that planet. They're all a lot of them are warriors. It's awesome.
So it's House Kaladin.
House Kaladin.
Or on the planet Kaladin.
Planet Kaladin. Yeah.
Planet Kaladin, House Atreides. Yep. And so the Atreides house is one of the 3 largest houses in the universe. So it's broken up into multiple big houses.
Humans are everywhere. There aren't aliens, but each of these houses is a little different human. Like, you can tell they've kind of lived on the same cluster of different planets together. So like,
it's almost like, you know, the filmmakers were trying to make it easy on us of who belongs where.
Yes.
But
thank you.
So,
oh my gosh.
So the 3 major houses, there's House Carino, and that's the Emperor Shaddam the Fourth.
Okay.
Christopher Walken. So he is the Emperor of House Carino. Princess Irulan, Florence Pugh's character, she's a Carino. Then you have the Atreides, which originally is led by Duke Leto.
The Duke.
The Duke.
That's his name, Duke.
Then you've got Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, of...
Just call him Baron. He's big, he's fat, he floats for some reason.
Yeah, he's got... Well, it's because
It's an anti-grav thing.
Yeah, it's an anti-grav thing that he wears.
And it's this big ball that like floats with him in the second one.
Yeah, and it's because he's so obese that he, like, his body physically cannot move on its own, so he has the anti-gravity.
Both movies, 80% of his screen time is him in his big bathtub. That's it. And then he like comes out and he's like, go kill those guys on Dune. And that's it. And then he's like, I gotta get back to my bath.
Bath time's important. He's got a lot of skin to wash.
They are sworn enemies of House Atreides.
Yes.
Even though they're all a part of the same empire, the houses themselves don't get along.
They feud, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so the feud between the Harkonnens...
genocidal levels of feuding.
And the feud between the Atreides and the Harkonnens go back hundreds of years. Yeah. So it's not like a recent...
They're already fighting each other. In the opening of the first movie, House Harkonnen, they were already ruling Dune. They were already controlling spice. Why is Dune important? Because the spice from that planet is used to fuel all their interstellar travel on this one dingy planet. So it is important as everything. Just without that, intergalactic travel's dead. It's important. It's the oil fields in the sandy place.
Yeah, that's.
But it's the only oil field.
That's pretty much what it is. And there's time. So Frank Herbert, the author of this, in it there's the guild. It's like the Spacing Guild, I think.
The Spacing Guild.
And so that is essentially, it's like OPEC. So Venezuela and a bunch of Middle Eastern countries forged like an alliance together to control the price of oil that they were sending out, which drove up the oil prices tremendously. So it's kind of like that. But
which is what Harkonnen's trying to do. They
want control of the spice.
What drove them away from the planet in the first? What was the Freemans?
No. So the Emperor took their power over Arrakis and transferred it to the Atreides as a setup. So that,
so Emperor's actually in cahoots with the Baron Harkonnen clan.
The Emperor is a very jealous and paranoid person.
Yeah. And Atreides was getting very, we're going to do what we want, kind of.
No, it was, so Duke Leto was actually incredibly popular with the other houses. Okay. And so the Emperor was jealous that Duke Leto was so beloved, and he was also afraid that they might try to seize power from him, even though they weren't conspiring to. Okay. But Duke Leto is catching on to this, and that's why you see him kind of trying to make alliances while on Arrakis with the Fremen, because he anticipates something to come from the Emperor. And so the Emperor is using House Harkonnen to do his dirty work. To do his dirty work.
Yeah. It's awesome, and you're like, well, how do you take out a whole house? Their entire clan up and goes in these galactic starships from their home, that planet that they're currently occupying. Like their whole family goes and occupies this city, and like they're in charge, but that puts their entire lineage and house right there in one spot.
And it doesn't pan out well for him.
Oh yeah, the fighting and stuff is so
the choreography
different.
Is incredible.
Yeah, not everyone, like maybe 1 in like 100 like warriors might have some sort of laser gun or projectile based weapon. Everything else is swords and melee combat because they already have these little snap-on shield emitters, but those come with their own drawbacks. You can't really hear because it's got a frequency around you unless someone's yelling in your face. If you're out in the desert, that's also just doing a frequency, which attracts the worms. Not little worms, not worms for your dog. Worms that can eat like buildings.
Like Alaskan bull worms.
Yeah. We're going all the way back to SpongeBob, yeah. Oh, they're not as big, hairy, and pink, but they're big.
Kind of brown, kind of an off brown.
Why is the desert a dangerous place? How do the worms know where you are? Because if you're walking, that's a rhythm. they're gonna come and eat you. And when they're gonna eat you, they're gonna eat like the entire block around you. So good luck getting away from that unless you got some cool ornithopter ships. Oh my gosh, these things have like dragonfly wings going on. And it does like a frequency bit when they're flying. It's just amazing seeing those things. Well, or when they do the dive, the wings fall.
Oh yeah, and they fold.
Oh my god.
So back to so Dune Part 2 picks up where Dune Part 1 ended. So like we said, House Harkonnen has destroyed House Atreides.
Sneak
seemingly.
attack, shields are down, everyone killed in the middle of the night.
They've taken over Arrakis, and Paul and his mother, Lady Jessica, have fled into the desert to find the Fremen, and they have found the Fremen. And so that's where we pick up right where we left off. So a few things. So cinematography, we touched on that a second ago. It's freaking incredible. So the three shots I absolutely loved, and I don't think none of this is a spoiler. So the first opening shot where you have the Harkonnens in their like space gear, and they've got like the little anti-gravity packs, and they're going up that little mountain.
Yep.
Oh my god, that was cool.
There's a few solid rock formations out in the desert, and if you're on them, worms typically won't come and eat you. They usually just stay in the sand. And the sand is, I was waiting to see if they do an analogy where they're like, the sand is basically a version of the ocean for Arrakis.
Essentially, yeah.
And there's this big thing with the House Atreides being these warriors, like the Duke and the father of Paul was like, we need to learn how to fight like the people of the desert, how to like work with it and not just be consumed by it. And Paul, this whole Part 2, Paul is out there learning it slowly, bit by bit, but also trying to avoid some premonition stuff. He's like, this may not end well for me.
And it does not.
No.
But we'll get to that after the spoilers, or when we get into the spoilers. But the casting, so the only person cast that I was a little worried about was Christopher Walken. And it's because it's Christopher Walken, and he's got that very unique voice. You see him on
screen, there he is.
Yeah.
I've like the Will Smith effect for me, where it's just like, oh, that's Will Smith.
Yeah. But I think he gives a nice, mild, like, you can tell he tuned down his voice and the inflections in his voice.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I thought he worked great. Florence Pugh as Irulan. She was awesome. I'm glad we got as much of her as we did, because in the book, so in the first book at least, you only have, so every chapter starts with like a bit of text from something Irulan has written.
An excerpt.
Yeah. Okay. And it's like in the movie where we see her like recording things. She's doing like almost like a verbal, like a spoken diary, and it's recording. Right. In the book, she does that, and then she's at the very end where she shows up with her father on Arrakis, but we don't see anything of her. So I thought it was cool how we got to see more of her, and she was great. And Zendaya as Chani was incredible.
Yes. So especially like comparing it to Dave Bautista's character and
Raven. Sorry,
and the Baron. Yeah, the Emperor comes off way more like a quiet burn.
Yes.
Just like, I am this guy who's in charge of everything, but you've only been seeing Raven and the Baron yelling at like they are crazy guys when they're yelling and stuff. I was almost sad to see like how little we had of Raven. I guess like comparing like part 1 and 2, he was there to really sort of spearhead the fall of the House Atreides, like on the front line. And then in part 2, he's more of just, it's the Baron just yelling at him to get the spice under control.
Well, and it's interesting too, and this is,
I wish we got more of them.
Kind of a spoiler, but kind of not. So this was like a plot thread that was just kind of excluded. Originally, Baron Harkonnen sends Raven there because he knows he is ineffective. And the idea is that he's going to send him in. He knows he's going to be a total tyrant, and he's going to screw everything up. And that's where he sets up Fade Roitha
Okay, it justifies, hey, I need to bring up a new...
For him to be seen is almost a savior-like figure to the Fremen and those who live on Arrakis.
Okay.
Because he'll seem more just and more tame compared to Revan, who's very volatile.
Yes.
So there's and they took that out of this. They took it out and they made it more of, hey, he's just ineffective, and that's why he's getting upset.
Right,
So,
yeah, they downplayed it.
Yeah, and Timothée Chalamet. So usually I'm not a huge fan of his performances, just because I feel like he's very emotionally numb. Like I've joked and said he's like a male Kristen Stewart, where he just doesn't emote very much. But in this, I thought he did like incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I was like, why are you saying he did a bad job? Like, I loved him in this.
No, I'm saying compared to the other things I've seen him in, like it seems like he really stepped it up, and he did a great job. And then Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica did incredible. I loved Javier Bardem's portrayal of Stilgar. So Stilgar is my favorite character.
Stilgar, man, I loved his vibe.
Yeah, Stilgar is my favorite character in the books. And Javier Bardem just did, like, I loved him even more.
It was so cool to see him from meeting Paul in the beginning in the first book, in the first part, up to now where he has, he's from the South, he has all these old
traditions
Fremen and prophecies, and he is, especially in the first one, like, he's just like watching Paul Atreides. He's just watching him. And then he's like, now you're a part of my tribe. And it gets to the point where like they're going to the southern capital with all the tribes. And he's like, only leaders can have a voice in here. You need to kill me. Here's my sword. Kill me so they will listen to you. I'm like, man, he is diehard for this. And it's great. Oh, and we also get sand riding or worm riding in this. The sandworm riding. Oh my gosh.
Which should we go ahead and just get into the spoilers?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
So here's your spoiler alert. So you've been warned. Come back to us when you've watched it.
They all die, unfortunately.
Yeah, everyone dies.
Yeah.
No. So I guess some of the themes. So after reading the book, I think it was a really good adaptation of the themes of the book. So the two of the major themes are religion and politics.
And it's all due to these crazy lady witch people who've been
Bene Gesserit
being crazy, spreading these prophecies to like, we'll cash in on these later, and it's like, well, what happens if someone tries to kick it early and is doing real good, meets all the marks, and now there's like a holy war you didn't plan.
The Bene Gesserit are pretty much they're eugenicists, essentially. So they're trying to breed what's called the Kwisatz Haderach. I hope I pronounced that right.
It's like a psychic power, basically. You can see the future and the past.
Prescience.
Yes.
But also,
total prescience.
Yeah, but also have the capabilities of a mentat, which are human computers.
Yes.
Because
super smart. Blink. It's the guy in the family who like he can blink his eyes. It turned white for a second. He's like, just like math good.
Yeah. So they're doing a special breeding program, and
only girls. But Paul's mom was like, I got this one. I think this is the one.
So those skills that Lady Jessica has taught him, that Bene Gesserit skills, come in handy when he's trying to learn the Fremen's or get in close with the Fremen. But as he's exposed more and more to the spice, so the spice awakens prescience that he has.
Yeah,
and
his compared to theirs is very muted. He's only getting glimpses, and if there's like 1,000 visions, the majority of them are like bad outcomes.
Well, and it's because really they are all bad outcomes.
Oh yeah,
and the big dilemma that he's faced with the entire time is, which bad outcome do I do?
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot.
There's a lot, yeah. And
His mom's like, let's go to the south. We need to start this holy war now. And he's like, I see like billions upon billions of people dying here and everywhere galaxy wide from my choices.
from the jihad.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not going to run south just yet. I'm going to be a rebel fighter with the Fremen in the north here and really stick it to Raven here.
And so one thing I thought was interesting, they made Jessica a little bit more antagonistic and conniving in the movie than she is in the book.
Okay, you definitely got that vibe the whole time.
Yes.
Because Paul's very, like, he even like tells her, he's like, that's you and your crazy witch clan said all this prophecy mumbo jumbo, and these guys have, like, it's their legacy that they've been reading about for hundreds of thousands of years. He's like, that's only what you've told them. That's all they know. I don't want to fall into that.
Yeah. In the book, he's a little more on board with it.
Oh, okay.
And everyone else is more on board with it. So in the movie, you see more resistance.
Just as the prophecy foretold.
Yeah, but so they did make a few changes, and one of them was Chani. So in the book, Chani is more on board with what Paul's doing because she's been given the same the messianic prophecies and everything.
Oh, okay, she's from the south.
It's not even a north and a south thing. That's just more of the movie.
Throw it in the movie.
But she's more on board with it, and even at the end, Chani actually stays with him. She doesn't just ride off into the distance, upset with his decision. So when Paul defeats the Harkonnens.
Yep, stand in for the Emperor.
Which was an incredible shot watching those 3 sandworms come in.
Oh,
that was, But
and then when you finally see how many worms they have just hitting them on all sides, I'm like, wow, Emperor, you were really full of yourself to go park your spaceship in the desert with your chrome throne.
It was a bold move.
Yeah, and it did not pay out at all.
Well, deep.
Oh no, I've fallen for the trap that was obvious.
Yeah.
Dang it.
In it, so Paul does become the Emperor, and he takes Princess Irulan as his wife to secure it, but he tells her, you will never have my children. You will never have my love. This is purely political. And to Chani, he says that, my love is only yours. You will be the only one to bear my children.
See, they reverse it in the movie where he's like, I'll love you as long as I breathe. And then turns around and goes, I'll take your daughter.
Yeah.
I was like, and then she runs off mad. I'm like, oh.
Well, and so another couple things that they took out of the book, or that they excluded from the book. So first off, he and Chani actually have a kid.
Whoa.
And then the kid dies.
So
yeah, he gets bombed. So when they're going through,
there's a lot more time in the book.
Yes. So in the book
years.
Also, Lady Jessica gives birth to Aaliyah, who's Anya Taylor-Joy, and Aaliyah is actually she's going to be super important to Dune Messiah. And to Children of Dune.
Right.
And so I'm
really hoping we get those movies adaptations. Please!
So,
oh my God!
Because Jessica took the water of life while she was pregnant.
The water of life!
The water of life.
It's blue! It came from the worms. It's weird.
Because she was exposed to the water of life. She also has all the memories of the Reverend Mothers for thousands of years. Oh. But she got it all as a fetus.
Right.
So she has exposure to thousands of lives and human memory and experience.
The Avatar state.
Before she's even born.
Right.
And so when she's a toddler, she talks like a smarter version of you and I because she's hyper intelligent.
Yeah. Well, in the movie, she was already psychically talking to the mom.
Yeah. She's also the one who actually kills the Baron. In the books, toddler Leia comes up with a crysknife and stabs Baron Harkonnen and kills him.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So there were a few changes there, and I get why they changed it because it's hard to have a toddler talk like a person and not seem a little funky on screen.
I feel like, yeah, you would definitely be pushing into the uncanny valley there.
Yeah, but then a couple other things. So remember Jameis? Jameis.
Yeah, Jameis, the one who he kills.
So that's the Fremen that Paul kills in the first movie.
Yeah, at the very end.
Another character they cut out. So because Paul killed Jameis, he is culturally inclined to take on his wife.
Oh.
Yes, and they cut
to
that
be
out.
a part of the tribe. Take his
Because he killed him, now he's obligated to take his wife.
Oh.
Now, they don't have a romantic relationship. It's more of like she's more of like a glorified maid. Mm-hmm. And she's got a child and everything. But the thing is, there's no taboo around it because they want a fair
culture,
ritualistic fight. So it's like no big deal. So that's another thing they cut out. And they... Fulfer, that's the mentat that you talked about with the eyes roll back.
Yeah.
So he had a whole subplot in the book too, but they just completely cut him out of the movie. Yeah. But the thing is, if you've got a 2.5 hour movie,
there's a great sense of honor and stuff with the houses. Like the moment like one assassination attempt is thwarted, but like still goes under his watch. He he's like, here's my resignation, Duke. I'm sorry I failed you. And he's like, don't deprive me of your resources. Yeah. No, stay here with me.
And then, so in the book, he's manipulated into thinking that Lady Jessica betrayed Duke Leto. So now he wants revenge on Lady Jessica, and he doesn't find out until the end that she's innocent. And if I remember correctly, he does something to kill himself.
Gurney makes it through the whole movie. Good
old Gurney.
Oh, yeah. So Duncan and Gurney, real quick, how are they related? Are they just They're just other members of...
They're high-ranking officials within House Atreides.
Okay.
So there's no relations.
So like, I have it in here, I'm like, the boys! You got Paul, and then you got the men, which is... the Duke, played by
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, Duke Leto.
Yeah, and then you've got Gurney and Duncan, and I'm just like, oh man, we got the old. Wow, I almost said old men. No, not old men, but like a solid trio right here of just awesome actors and characters.
So I do have one little complaint. So I love Dune. And I get that Duncan Idaho is a very popular character to the fans. So Duncan Idaho is kind of a stupid ass name.
So
it's a stupid name.
I'm glad they just called him Duncan in the movie.
Oh, they call him Duncan Idaho in the first one.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, they call him Duncan Idaho. They keep it short and usually call him Duncan for the most part.
Oh.
Because that'd be like if every time I saw you, it's like, oh, my good friend, Thomas Gaither. Oh, Thomas Gaither, would you like a drink?
But old. Oh, man. Okay.
But yeah, so I always thought his name was kind of silly. You've got like Gurney Halleck, you've got Duke Leto Atreides, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, and then
these very clandestine things, and then
Duncan Idaho.
My special weapons are potatoes.
It sounds like a cheesy Western hero name.
Yeah.
Yes, Duncan Idaho riding with his white hat and his horse off into the sunset with his 6-shooter.
Gurney is like one of the few who survived the slaughter. He's like making his way, trying to be like a spice smuggler.
Making his way downtown to Arakeen, gonna get...
gets caught up with Paul finally. He actually... Does he kill Raven? Gurney?
I can't remember if he kills him in the books. In the movie, he does.
Yeah, in the movie he does, which I was like, yes, give us that sweet revenge, because he steps into it and he's like, what's the situation? And Paul's like, well, Mom's wanted me to be this holy war messiah.
And he's like, do it!
Also, here's an arsenal of nukes.
Yeah. And so, fun fact about nuclear bombs. So they're called atomics, and pretty much it's outlawed universally to use on human beings. Like, you cannot use it on another house, or you risk threat of your home planet being completely destroyed. Right. But he uses a bluff, and he says, listen, great houses, if you don't bow to me...
Because they all show up with the Emperor, like, right behind him.
Yeah.
And he's like, before they even get involved, he's like, send this out.
He said, I will blow all the spice up.
I'll blow it up, and you'll all die because you won't be able to travel anywhere in space anymore.
And then so one thing, so the big thing he's avoiding and that you see happen at the end is the beginning of the jihad. So the jihad,
That's the Holy War, right?
yes. So
Not on the planet, like galaxy-wide.
universal-wide.
Yes.
So that's one thing.
Which was something like I was like not grasping because his visions. I was like, oh, Dune, like Arrakis is gonna burn in this war. His clan's gonna die. The Fremen are gonna die. And it's like, no, this is galaxy-wide.
Yeah,
I'm like,
so
oh,
that's what
that's
Paul
bad.
is so afraid of in his visions. So his prescient vision is showing him that if he steps up into the role of Lisan, or shit, I had it earlier.
I can't help you get these, man. I couldn't memorize them worth.
I think it's
worth a day.
Lisan al-Gaib. He steps up into that messianic role. He knows what's going to happen is the Fremen are going to commit a universal jihad throughout the universe in his name. And at the end of the movie, we see that start.
The beginning of the end, baby.
Yeah, and so that was one of those little things where they conveniently changed the term jihad to holy war in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, we can't call it jihad right now. We've got a bunch of pissed off Muslims. It's a little bit of a dirty. White people don't like the term jihad. It makes white people nervous. And then
Holy War? Crusade?
Well, so another thing, and I absolutely understand why they cut it out. So in the books, the Baron has a preference for young boys. So he rapes boys. He has them sent up to him, he rapes them and kills them. There's not like an explicit scene in the book about that. It's more of just something that
Undertone hinted to.
It's heavily implied. At one point, Fade Roitha, the character that's played by Austin Butler, actually tries to assassinate him by sending up like a teenage boy with a poison dart implanted in his inner thigh, so that when he's rubbing up on him, he'll get pricked and poisoned and die, but he catches it.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's a fucked up family.
Oh yeah.
But so I can absolutely
messed up.
So going into the movie, I was just like, "There's no way. there's no way they include
No.
that."
Instead, they were just like, he's got like 3 or 4 cannibalistic concubines, and not even the Baron, just New Baron, or that's his title, right?
Fade Roitha.
Fade Roitha is the new, like New Baron.
Mm-hmm. So he'll inherit the role.
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
Not anymore.
Nope.
Paul Atreides stepped up. He's a good fighter, especially when you've got precognition, basically.
Comes in handy if you can see what's going on.
Which did make that like one of the final end shots. Did he pull his sword out of his lower stomach and then he went into it and took his blade into his shoulder?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like they didn't show that action where he pulled it out of himself and then he like had the New Baron come into it.
No, they just hope we'd be smart enough to understand what was happening.
Which is how the movie is shot. They aren't going to sit there and Stilgars and go, oh, he just did this move. Like it won't. You have to just watch it and just have your eyes like eat that cinematography.
You just have a Freeman in the background go, oh, damn! Yeah. Well, one last thing I want to talk about with Dune Part 2 is the music.
Yes.
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer knocking it out of the
Again.
park. I only looked up the original soundtrack online, and I think it's still just from the first movie, but so Gam Jabbar.
Yes.
Jabbar, that's that whole screeching thing over the desert. Anytime they're just panning, just showing you that or the worms or the sun. Ripples in the Sand is an awesome track, and then Holy War is also like when they're going through the visions, and you're just like, future isn't that bright for little Paul Atreides.
A third movie has been confirmed, and it's going to be based off Dune Messiah. Yes. They're going to have to change parts of that second book to make it work.
Okay.
Because it starts off with Irulan's upset
That
Paul won't give her any
children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Also-
Johnny is trying to get pregnant
Right.
but can't.
Also, oh man. Also, they need to do some sort of weird time skip with his baby sister.
I
Is there
think-
room for a little bit of a time skip?
Yeah, there's like a 10-year gap between these two.
Okay.
So
They've got some room.
Yeah,
They've got some wiggle room.
So the
there.
jihad has
Okay,
already pretty much gone on, and they've taken they have complete rule over the universe. And so
Wow.
yeah, I know.
Sheesh.
Yeah, never underestimate a Fremen.
So, do they just hop on the worms and ride them into space?
Space worms.
Space worms! It's an epic. It's an epic tale. And what's cool is you can watch part 1 and go watch part 2 in theaters. Nothing's stopping you from doing that.
Dune Part 2 is the best science fiction film I've ever seen, and it's the most excited I've ever been leaving a theater since Endgame.
So many of the shots are shot so well. Everything looks so real. And in this world that you're looking at, the only bit that looks uncanny is just when the shield emitters are turned on and off. I mean, it's like a blue shimmer effect, and it doesn't stay on them. It only appears there when they turn it on or off. And I'm like, other than that, everything looks practical and real.
A lot of it is practical effects.
Yes.
Yeah. Which,
Yes.
thank God, I'm so happy the past few years we've had a return to practical effects because it's so much
Yes.
better.
Oh my
It's so
gosh.
much better.
When 95% of the entire screen is just CGI, even if it's not in the uncanny valley, we can tell that what we're looking at is not real.
It's also pretty much a cartoon at that point. It's an animated.
Yes.
It's an animated movie. If most of your, film is
So
CGI.
much of this is just gorgeous shots of the desert. Oh, how the Freemen are they can just lie in wait in the desert for you.
But go out there, support,
watch it. Oh my
go
gosh.
support Muad'Dib. Go support him.
I don't know.
Support him.
Dune!
Go watch Dune. See you next time.
Bye.